Anybody know who Tim Holmseth is? Nobody? Oh, that alone is shocking to me. Tim has been a reporter an award-winning reporter for the last 10 or 12 plus years. I know it's been at least 12 years. Okay? And he's being persecuted right now in the state of Minnesota by an attorney firm in the state of Florida. And he's being persecuted in Minnesota for releasing information that was already public. Don't we have freedom of speech and freedom of the press? And all he's doing is releasing information that's already on the public record, and he's taking it and he's putting it on the internet and he's telling everybody about it. And they're persecuting him. You know what they did? They got a gag order, a protection order against a lady who is committing child and sex trafficking in Florida, and she's an attorney for a big attorney firm in guess which county? Broward County, Florida, which is one of the most corrupt in the nation. And she is taking him to court every month. She's suing him for something to keep him tied up, spending his resources, spending his time, so he can't do any reporting because he called her out on something that was already on a court record down there. So it's not like he went to Florida and did investigative journalism and found out something that nobody else had. It's not proprietary information. It's public record. And he's just taking what's already on the record and putting it out there. Right? It's not illegal in any way, shape, or form. So she sued him in the state of Florida, and his life was threatened if he showed up in court. He'd never set foot in the state of Florida in his life. He's never been there. And his life was threatened, so he didn't go. And so they got a protection order against him. He says, no problem, I'm not going to go down there and bother you. He didn't think anything of it. So she's enforcing the Florida protection order in Minnesota, where he lives. Every time he puts something out on the internet. And they keep hauling him into jail. And I didn't learn about Tim until his second trial was coming up, after his first one. And the first one, he went there and he was railroaded and found guilty and put in jail for 45 days. And I went up there and I got him out of jail on the 41st day, whoop-de-doo. I saved him 4 days of his life, right? But then we walked out the door on the 41st day, and the sheriff walked over and arrested him, hauled him back in the door. We didn't get 25 feet. And they arrested him. So I flew back home and started helping Tim with a little bit of paperwork over the phone. And his next trial date came up about 30 days later. And I leave Bend, Oregon, and I go, you know what? Kirk Pendergrass. Anybody know Kirk Pendergrass? You guys. All right. Start watching Kirk's Law Corner. Kirk has an IQ of about 155. He's sharp as a tack. Everything he reads, he remembers. And the page number. Okay? He's got one of those photographic memories. And he can read the law and know the law better than most attorneys. So I'm leaving Bend in a big car, about ready to drive to Minnesota. And I call up Kirk and I say, hey, you got a bag pack? I said, I'll be there in 4.5 hours. Kirk says, 4.5 hours? That's not enough time. I'm not going anywhere. So I wait 2 hours. When I get to Burns, Oregon, I call Kirk up. I said, hey, Kirk, 2.5 hours away. I'll be there at your house to pick you up. I told him the situation. He says, okay, I'll go. Stopped at his house, picked him up. We shot up to Minnesota, right out of Great Falls, North Dakota, just across the border, a little town called Crookston. In fact, all 3 counties there have a population of about 10,000 people. It's almost to Canada. It's way up there. All right? And I pick Kirk up, and we show up with Tim in court, and Kirk and I stand in court, under E-Clause LLC and presidential executive orders, and we speak an hour and 20 minutes on behalf of Tim. And then in that court, we called the judge out 3 times on the record for capital felony treason. And it went unrebutted. He knew he committed it. So he dismissed the case and recused himself. 30 days later, they're hauling him back into court again. We've done this 5 times now, 5 judges. The last time, we had 150 people show up from all over the world. A court from England flew in to his court. And Tim didn't show. And he didn't show because literally on public television, they threatened to kill him if he showed up. So he didn't show. So we had a lawful strategic plan in place in case that happened. And Kirk went in the courtroom and took care of some business. The judge still issued a warrant because he didn't show. But when you read the warrant, you'll giggle. It's only for a misdemeanor, and it's only good in that county in Minnesota. So as long as he stays out of that county, they're not going to pick him up, right? So we've got him stationed in a safe house, and he's fine. But we're just going to fight it on a higher level because they just, one judge after another in this courtroom, and they just keep committing capital felony treason. Okay? And they're doing that in every courthouse in the United States. Every single courthouse in the United States. Every day, they're committing capital felony treason on you, on all of us. Every one of our neighbors that has to walk in that courtroom. And the problem is they've been getting away with it for too long. Far too long.